Hello, this is a simple presentation about the voltage adapter that you would have to use between the USA and Canada. So we have a 14 volt power supply for this monitor, which apparently can also be used as a television. I'll have to look at it once I get it working. But there's a difference in the style of the cord that I have compared to this one here, which will plug into that, but I do not have the receptacle for this. So the difference would be in this end here, how one side is squared off, which I'm assuming that would be the neutral. I'd have to check on that. That's squared off. The other one, the receptacle, is rounded on both sides, which theoretically that shouldn't matter if you reverse your neutral and your line of power. But I double checked to make sure that Canada actually uses 120 volts, and Google says yes, they use 120 volts. So as long as I can make this thing fit into that voltage adapter, which is like a DC power supply for this monitor, it should work. So I'm going to go out to the garage and I'm going to round this up and we'll see if it works. Okay, so here we are now in the vise. I have the USA style plug ready to go. I'm going to have to radius the corners that have the square corners on it. So I'll be using, this is like a standard Nicholson Milbastard file. I actually used my file card and cleaned all the steel out of this one because I don't typically use a file on plastic or anything like that, but I'd highly recommend just to use a brand new file on this. I wouldn't recommend using like a high-speed abrasive or anything, just because the plastic has a certain hardness to it, and it's better to just kind of sort of like take your time on it and just kind of round it up like this. You don't really want to burn the plastic, but you just want to pay attention and take your time and round the corners. Kind of knock some of the dust off of it. Yeah, you can see the general shape. So I'll just look at that, try to clean it up a little bit, and then we'll give her a try. Also, one thing that I would like to add, this cord actually has a sticker on it. It says that it's rated at 7.5 amps. So the voltage adapter, the power supply, is actually only rated at 2.5 amps. So I'm wondering if maybe you could actually find a cord like this, which the only one I think that I would have that's that low of an amperage would be like a printer or something like that. So it's always a good idea when you chuck them things to save the cord off of it, because it might come in handy. Looks like we got something. So this thing actually had a remote in it. It was like some kind of a display unit or something like that. I already put 2 new AAA batteries in it. That's the power button. Oh, there we go. Oh, it looks like it's in another language. So I'll have to figure that part out. This remote's also a little bit weird, but it does look like it works. So I'm going to have to look up this specific model and figure out exactly how to get it put into English. Looks good. Hopefully this will work as a second monitor on my computer or something like that. It's actually like in really good condition too. Oh, it was the DTV converter. That's the last thing that I ever had any experience with that had to do with antenna channels, and that was probably back in 2006 or 7. Now, it looks like we're looking for a signal, so the next step is going to be to hook it up to a computer or something like that and see if we can get a display. Okay, so this is how I figured this out. I started messing around with the remote controller and then scrolled down to Sistema. So once we go down where it says some lingua menu, oh, it's in Italiano. So what we need to do is put this thing into language English. And I think that's going to help a little bit. Alright, coming back at you from a tight spot again. So this is my computer desk. It says 3 bolts in the back of the upper support where I set my printer and stuff like that. So I moved it up 1 notch because the original monitor that I have on this lower tier is not going to clear if I try to use dual monitors on this desk. But the new one already does clear. I only need basically like a half of an inch or something like that, and I'm guaranteeing that's probably like 2 3/8 or something like that. I'll get it put back together here soon, and then the next problem, I need to use an HDMI cable, so I got to find one of those. Well, I may not have struck success, but I found an HDMI cable. So I'm going to get this thing hooked up and see if this monitor is going to work or not like that. Well, it looks like we've encountered another issue. I accidentally hit the power switch on the GFCI, and now my computer wants to do an update. So I'll do an update here soon. Well, it looks like we have success here. We've got the cursor moving on the second screen. Got it moving on the first screen. I find it, yep, there it is right there. Grab the window. Oh, it moves right over like that. Good to go.